After a dominant 30-second victory of his career at Suzuka, Max Verstappen was able to clinch his second world title with a convincing victory at Suzuka, which capped off an outstanding year of racing for the Red Bull driver. Let's take a look at the highs and lows of Verstappen's 2022 Formula One season. Max Verstappen's attempt to defend his championship title got off to a rough start, but what began as a close fight between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc gradually began a dominant season for the Red Bull driver. It was never a question of if Verstappen would win his second world championship, rather it was always a matter of when he would do it. He eventually did so at Suzuka, albeit in rather unusual circumstances. Let's begin with low moments Verstappen had in 2022. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz finished first and second respectively in the opening race of the season, which gave the Maranello team a dream-perfect start to the year. Throughout the race, Verstappen had been in second place behind Leclerc, but after making a late pit break, Verstappen immediately complained about losing his power steering, which hinted that his vehicle had a problem with its hydraulics. Shortly after that, Pierre Gasly pulled out of the race for AlphaTauri, which resulted in the safety car's deployment and bunched up the grid. After then, Verstappen's team advised him that the problems he was having with his power steering could not be fixed, but they would not get any worse over the course of the remaining 10 laps. Unsurprisingly, when the race resumed following the safety car, Leclerc immediately began to pull away from the struggling Dutchman, who was now under pressure from Sainz, who was in third place. In spite of the issue with his car, Verstappen managed to hold off the Ferrari for a number of laps before the decisive moment occurred on lap 55. Down the back straight, he complained about a battery loss that his team told him was not true, before Sainz easily passed him on the inside.
What's going on with the battery?
Battery fine.
No, it's not.
On the run-up leading up to the final corner, he started to slow down even more, which allowed the rest of the field to pass him by, and he was just able to make it into the pit lane before he stopped. Although Verstappen had trouble with his RB18 during qualifiers, Verstappen managed to qualify in second place behind Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen was running in P2 in the Australian Grand Prix behind leader Charles Leclerc when he was forced to pull up at turn 2 on lap 39 of 58, with smoke pouring from his Red Bull RB18. As his vehicle came to a stop, Verstappen reported that he detected the odor of a strange fluid coming from it.
That smells some weird fluid.
Verstappen was quick to jump out of the car before instructing the marshal to douse fire extinguisher fluid into the RB18's smoking innards. This meant that Verstappen had now retired from 2 of the first 3 Grand Prix in 2022. The problem did not affect teammate Sergio Perez, who finished second behind Leclerc. Team boss Christian Horner explained that the incident was caused by a fuel leak from the power unit. By the 17th round, with 5 more races to go, Verstappen had his chance to win the championship. With 2 corners to go on his qualifying lap, Verstappen looked assured of pole position, which tends to precede victories at the Marina Bay circuit. However, much to his annoyance, his crew instructed him to end the lap and return to the pits because they hadn't put sufficient fuel in his car. As a result, he took the 8th position on the grid. On the day of the race, things did not get better. When the race began, Verstappen accidentally activated his anti-stall system, which caused him to drop to 12th position. After patiently working his way forward, he locked up while racing Lando Norris and went off track, which caused his tyres to be damaged and required an extra pit stop. He was only able to finish the race in 7th place. Now that we've covered the low points of Verstappen in 2022, let's talk about the high moments. Before we talk about Max's high moments in 2022, I know you're enjoying this video, so for you to not miss out on any of my other amazing videos, hit the subscription button and give this video a thumbs up. It's that easy. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on. Imola hosted the first sprint race weekend of the year, giving drivers the opportunity to earn 34 points in a single weekend's worth of competition. That opportunity was exploited to its full potential by Verstappen, who won not only the sprint race but also the Grand Prix and the extra point for having the fastest lap. He passed Leclerc to win the sprint race and capitalized when the Ferrari's driver's pursuit of the fastest lap bonus blew up in his face. Following a late tyre change for soft rubber near the end of the race, Leclerc spun off, throwing precious points away. It was also a statement of intent that he was not going down without a fight. From that point onwards, the comeback that the Red Bull driver scripted at Imola was phenomenal. Max Verstappen's victory at this year's Hungary Grand Prix provides further evidence that he is unbeatable no matter where he begins a race. Because of power problems, he qualified 10th, but throughout the race, he worked his way up through the middle of the pack. Once again, Verstappen got lucky when Ferrari put the dreaded hard tyres on Leclerc, making him easy to pass. However, Verstappen skidded in the rainy conditions, which caused him to fall back to 4th place. For any other driver, a win would be out of reach. Having to fight back from this position, Max battled with Charles again and eventually managed to win the race. Once again, Max's victory was made possible by the Ferrari error, but his temperament determined how he handled his spin. The fact that he did not become angry about it or try to take the lead by force is evidence of his newfound composure. The Hungarian GP unofficially solidified Max's championship. If a driver can spin and win, then that driver is working at the world champ level. Max Verstappen prevented Charles Leclerc from winning the Italian Grand Prix with a dominant performance at Monza. After receiving a grid penalty, Verstappen started the race in the 7th position, but after just 5 laps, he had moved up to 2nd place and was clearly holding a pacing lead over Leclerc, who had started from the pole position. Ferrari's goal was to win its home race. After 11 laps, under a virtual safety car, Ferrari brought Charles Leclerc in for a pit stop in an effort to gain some advantage over Max Verstappen. However, the move was in vain as the medium tyres fitted to Leclerc's car could not provide the durability or the speed necessary to mount a challenge to Verstappen's lead. In the race's closing stages, with Leclerc being forced to make a second pit stop, Verstappen held a lead of nearly 20 seconds over the rest of the field. However, a technical failure for Daniel Ricciardo caused the McLaren to come to a stop on the track with 5 laps to go, and the race was ultimately decided behind the safety car.
We will finish the race behind the safety car.
There was very little doubt that Verstappen and Red Bull deserved to win the race. Despite the fact that Leclerc voiced his displeasure over the radio,
Come on. It's clear, come on.
and that Ferrari supporters jeered at the decision to end the race behind the safety car. A victory appears to be unavoidable for Verstappen, regardless of where on the grid he begins. Every time Verstappen has suffered a grid penalty or started in a position lower than the top 3, he has won the race. The only exception to this is the Singapore Grand Prix. At Monza, Spa, and Hungaroring, he methodically moved his way up through the field to ensure that he would be in the ideal position to seize the lead at the right moment. Admittedly, he has had the best car on the grid, especially since the summer break, particularly after summer break. Because the Red Bull is optimized for power on tracks like Spa and Monza, Verstappen is able to pass cars more easily. However, the ease with which he passes others is not solely attributable to the car. Verstappen has developed a newfound patience, which allows him to execute these maneuvers at the appropriate moment and location without succumbing to greed. If these overtakes do not demonstrate his skill enough, the way he manages to shake off his competitors once he is in the lead highlights his pure pace. At the Belgian GP, his teammate Sergio Perez finished 17.841 seconds behind him, proving he sits in a separate league from most other drivers. The year 2022 has not exactly presented Verstappen with significant opposition. Mercedes have lagged behind the competition by a significant margin, while Ferrari has made strategic error after strategic error. However, the drivers who are closest to him in the standings, like Leclerc, Sainz, and Perez, are some of the best drivers on the grid. Verstappen makes them look like poor competition, showing the frighteningly high level he is performing. Which other moments in 2022 will you consider to be low moments or high moments for Verstappen? Let me know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video.